Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's weekend show. This is our Broiler Chicken show. Bark, bark, bark. Bark, 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 bark. Be kind of cool to do a little soundbite lead in. I guess that fell apart, eh? Remember, I don't know. I haven't seen Josh on the weekend meetings now for a few weeks, eh, Chris? I wonder if he still remembers us. Anyway, Josh, of course, is part of our marketing team, and he's been doing a lot of the Twitter marketing stuff. Man, this page is pretty darn impressive. And looks like he's having a lot of fun in his role. It's really cool to see him working, just promoting the TRI brand. Anyway, happy I guess Sunday here. Back in the saddle about 10:30, so we'll try and wind this up around noon. Make sure that I got lots of time to get pretty for the boy. Sadly, of course, well, maybe sadly, maybe happily, I don't know. We're finally at this darn April 4th Mars, Saturn, Earth, Moon conjunct event, which theoretically should be sort of the apex of the sort of, I don't know, anger. I don't know what other words to use. Frustration, I think, is another word that I heard that was used to describe this. Just all these emotions about anger, sort of human frustration and anxieties and stuff because of these celestial planets. They have an effect on us. I suppose, and it is interesting. I have no idea. I mean, obviously, we're on the other side of the world, so we don't really know what the hell's going on in the ground. But it is interesting to see the ebb and flow of that Ukrainian situation. And unfortunately, really, really bad stories coming out of that place. So sad. So sad. If we're lucky, I suppose this might be a tipping point for the totalitarian dictatorshipness of the world. I mean, I have the best wishes for the Russian people and Russian citizens and, just another country in the world, but we all got to get along, right? And bullies, I don't think they have a place in this 21st century. So hopefully, hope, human history, we can move through this. If I understand correctly, this is supposed to go on right through to 2030. And of course, you're going to have people on both sides, ebb and flow. Just humans are just not very happy creatures right now. And actually, I was even joking with Chris before we got this going. I mean, it's weird how, you have to live through a full life. Probably a lot of you don't even remember really the millennium and the turn of the century around then. But here in Western civilization, it was a pretty happy-go-lucky time, I'll tell you that much. I suppose in China they were still trying to go through the Asian contagion. So the Chinese economy, mind you, the totalitarian dictators were very comfortably in control there. Tiananmen scares, about 5-10 years before that. If I understand correctly, right around 2000 was the worst of the times for Russia. Actually, interesting historical correlation I clued into recently. I think what ends up happening is this is like it's a pendulum and it swings back and forth violently one direction or the other. Either overt growth or overt sort of fear and regression. Brian likes to call them his fear and greed cycles. And I think it has everything to do with demographics and everything to do with money and wealth creation. And then, the public starts to feel wealthier and better standard of living. And then the powers that be come along and basically just steal all that accumulated wealth. It can be stolen at a gunpoint. A lot of totalitarian dictatorships just simply work at gunpoint. And actually, it's really cool. You want a great history lesson, go back and look at all the different ways through the centuries that the British society and their monarchs, and how they were just horrendous totalitarian dictators. How they used to steal the wealth of the generations as it was accumulated. I don't know whether it's a step forward or not, but I suppose we move forward in that the sort of bourgeoisie or the middle class, upper middle class, I suppose, were able to usurp that power, that control from sort of the despots through human history. But in essence, instead of like one autocrat, like I suppose you have like, Putin, Russia, in our Western society, we have oligarchs. And I think to a certain degree, Russia still is oligarchical, if that is a term. But there's like, instead of just one sort of dickhead, we've got like a collective class of dickheads that just basically steal the wealth of the masses. So I suppose that's progress in a certain degree. And the sad part about it is, see, we seem these stupid humans. We just go through these same cycles, and we could very easily be thrown right back into absolute Stone Age kind of mentality very quickly. I thought it was interesting that if you connect the dots, the Bronze Age came to a climactic end. Very similar sort of situation. A whole bunch of these cycles all came to a head all at the same time. And unfortunately, those civilizations, they couldn't handle things like plagues and stuff like that. It just would wipe them out. At least we're doing a little bit better here in our modern age with these plagues. So hopefully it won't take too big of a toll. But you can definitely see the 1% sort of jockeying for position. Anyway, rant. Philosophy. As I said, I thought it was interesting if you actually, and it makes a heck of a lot of sense now. I'm a big fan of these basically 17, 18-year demographic cycles, which is basically like 35 years, sort of the three different phases of your life. First 35 years, you don't really do anything. Second 35 years of your life, that's your peak earnings years. And then third 35 years of life, that's your death cycle. So right now, the millennials are just sort of coming online, they're 20, 25 years into their generation. And they're going to be heading into their peak earnings years over the next 10, 20 years, which is good because we just went through 20 years of the baby boomers leaving the economy. Now they're in their sort of regression cycle, and they'll all end up dying. And then there's clowns like me. I'm Generation X. I'm sort of caught in between the millennials and the baby boomers. So yeah, we don't even really. We get to. I lived most of my childhood in the shadow of the baby boomers, and now I can already start to see it. Even like how this website has developed and this business has developed over the past 5-10 years. I think it's purely a function of the millennial generation coming online, and you guys all want to learn about this crazy game called capitalism. And you got fools like me that'll sit around and go, "Hey, you know what? I've been playing this game for a few years. I'll tell you the Buffetts, the Mungers, stuff like that. They have no interest whatsoever in teaching the next generation, which I do find a little bit sad." Hey, Shane, there's a guy I haven't seen in a while. Hey, Shane, do you mind maybe just responding to a couple of my DMs on the site? I'd appreciate it. Actually interesting. Shane is sort of one of the guys that a few years ago on the website was even pointing out all these celestial events. And we have a fun little astrologer room on the TRI website, and we have a couple guys on the site who are just like over the top astrology dudes. And I love, actually, I think Andre even sent me another cool sort of update here as to what he's seeing in the skies. Let's see. Is that it? Oh, maybe it's gone. That's too bad. Isn't that weird? Rocket Chat's been acting really funny for us lately. I can't see any of these old images. That sucks. Anyway, Andre was sending me some really cool pics recently about Celestia. I think I talked about that in a recent video. So anyway, maybe check out previous broiler chickens. It's like, nope, they're just not coming in here. Damn. What is really cool, Andre put this together, and this is, I want to keep a closer track on this, and we need Chris to, we're trying to get Chris to do all the work here. Hopefully we can get him. But Andre went and found all of our EVU event dates and angles of the, I'm specifically interested in the relationship between Earth, Venus, and Uranus on a 90-degree basis and a 120-degree angle basis. And the interesting thing about this, actually, if you think about the way that these planets rotate, and people often call Venus actually as a sort of a twin planet to Earth. Interestingly enough, I think Venus is more like Earth than Mars is. But anyway, I think actually this EVU relationship makes a heck of a lot more sense now if you actually understand the way these bodies rotate and the relationship that they have. So it actually makes a lot more sense. I learned recently about the way these bodies rotate. Super cool. So we've got all that going on right now, and I've sort of tried to suggest to everybody, just cool your jets. Don't get too stressed out through this funny little event window here. As I said, it's supposed to hit an apex tomorrow, and I have actually heard a lot of people saying, "Oh my God, the aspects 3rd, 4th, and 5th of April. Oh my God, the aspects are crazy. Oh my God, there's so many of them. It's gonna be nutso." So, my suggestion to you: don't go picking any fights right now. If you want to pick a fight, fine. Just wait a week or two. Let's get beyond this. You go and pick a fight right now, and it might actually end in bloodshed. So be damn careful. Seriously. So I suppose, as we said, I think the focal point of this one, it'd be interesting actually to talk to the astrologers if they saw that the focal point of the violence was going to be Eastern Europe, or if that sort of was a bit of a surprise to even them. It does feel like the Americans are kind of being sidelined here. I do see now, and frankly speaking, I think it's just disgusting. But unfortunately, I don't know what we can do in this world. I mean, there were long periods of human history where democracy was not the norm, that autocracy was the norm, and that you better do what you're told or you're going to get a big punch in the nose. We might just be moving back towards that society, folks. I don't know. A little disappointed that these cocksuckers, and they're as mafioso gets. They're now waffling where, you know what, actually we're not gonna drop the hammer on Russia like the West wants. And also too, I have to say, I'm a little disappointed hearing that a lot of the Europeans are kind of like, well, yeah, we're gonna stop the gas coming from. No, we're not. No, we're not. No, psych. So, really sad commentary on the lack of morals in this world. Terrible lack of morals. And I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, I have a bad habit of putting myself, I figure that I have pretty good morals. And so I expect other people to follow along those moral paths. And I continually get disappointed in this world seeing this kind of nonsense. I mean, who is this guy? Fucking cocksuckers. Terrible. I wonder how many people this gentleman has actually seen murdered in his life. He's literally taken people's lives. How many young tennis players have to basically accept these people's penises up their vaginas against their wills? really, really bothers me, this world. And unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, does it get to the point where I just let my personal opinions start affecting this? I mean, if anything, what I've been trying to do lately, and I think it's not a bad idea, is actually I've been trying to distance myself from the site, because the site looks like it's doing what it was intended to do, which is fucking awesome. I mean, maybe we should even get rid of Brian Beamish references. I'm just like a bitter old man. The website and the community, these people, they're genuinely good people that are really trying to make a positive difference in this world. And I love that about you guys. I really do. I'm so proud of all of you. So proud. I could actually, honestly, I could die in peace. I mean, I'll miss my boy, and of course I'll miss all of you dearly, but I'll see you on the other side. But I could rest in peace knowing that this entity has taken flight. There's just one more thing that we have to do. We just got to get that physical campus so that people actually have a place to go, right? That if they need to just try and escape. That's the only thing that's missing, right? Because right now this is just a virtual experience, but we need that physical location. So actually, I've been talking to you guys, on the site and in public discourse and stuff for quite some time about this. So we're still hunting. It's a process. Actually, we're really getting excited about Portugal right now. So I don't know what it is about Portugal. But good vibes. Sjord's on board. Sjord likes Portugal, so that's 2/3 of the team. Just got to get Julian on board, and I think we're good to go. So that's a big thing that I'm working on right now over the next, say, 6-8 months. Don't be surprised actually if I do one of these reports in from Europe. Anyway. We'll see how it goes. Really great to see just people interacting with the TRI website and the guy who's running this. I've told you before, you know who all it is. This he's a great, he's actually really, really good. Really, what's the word I'm looking for? He's the way that this is supposed to be. Like, he is Mr. Social Media. So I really like that. Really, really like that. All right. So Brian, of course, utterly opinionated. It is a very dangerous time in the sort of celestial universe for us to be making any big statements or, picking fights and stuff. So I guess it makes sense. The world is as tense as it is. If anything, the good part about the market and speculating and stuff is when the world starts actually not paying attention to, if you fancy yourself a trader and all that kind of stuff. When the world is obsessed about things like war and stuff like that, actually, that's the best time for us. We would prefer that the world just concentrate on other things. I mean, you saw what happened in 2017 when the whole fucking world was all concentrated on crypto. You saw what had to happen. It's just a mess following the event. So if anything, it's better, especially if we're trying to, build these platforms and stuff to change the world and make it a better place and all that kind of stuff. Decentralization of currency and control. It would be better that we could just quietly do this in the background, in my opinion. It's interesting. All you people in Europe, I would strongly suggest, if you can, that you call up your local representative, whatever the hell the European Council representative is for you. And you say, hey, get back off on all this regulation of crypto here. And you can see that the banksters are trying desperately to gain control of the situation. And it looks like they're trying to use ECB as their lever. I do find it interesting that the U.S. central bankers, they don't seem to really be bothered too much by cryptocurrencies. I think that they have the banksters themselves have said, we're just going to leave it up to the legislators, and then it's just really a question of, do you have pro business or do you have pro, central planning, persons in control of government. And the one good thing about the United States of America that I've always loved is they have a massive checks and balances system. So it's very difficult, sort of one party to really railroad policy. As you can see, even after George Bush Jr.'s tenure, when Obama was in charge, there was a massive push to the left. The Congress fell to the left, and then the presidency, Obama and all that, they were leftist. And the biggest thing that they could do was get a socialized medicine program going, and that didn't even really take that big of a hold. So that's the one thing I love about the USA, is it's actually pretty damn difficult to actually change anything there. And I think the banksters love that too. They got a sweet deal. It took them forever in 1913 to get the American political machine back under their control. They got it, and then since then they've been running the show. But I don't think, ironically enough, the central banker model, that Rothschild model, all that kind of stuff, I think it's actually a huge thing about it is private property. You've got to have the ability to have private property, or the whole sort of banking shyster thing doesn't work. So, if everything is government controlled and government ledgered, then it's awfully difficult to cook the books. So, and the banksters, they're great at finessing the books. Anyway, only time will tell. Just probably a lot of rant out of Brian here to start the day. We'll say I'm very proud of the, like I said, the website's coming along really, really well. Finally, I think starting to get data and starting to get tools on the website that a website subscription is worth the money. I appreciate, and I think it's great that people have listened to me, and they believe that I'm a voice of reason, and they've trusted me to try and lead you into how to run a small business of trading effectively. And I don't bullshit you. Ironically enough, the principles of what I teach in the education program, they're not new. It's not like there's any copyright on any of the material, really. And a lot of the material that we teach in the course was actually sort of put together 100, if not hundreds, of years ago. We just have the privilege of putting all the pieces together into a nice, pretty package for you, which actually is pretty cool. And I have had actually a couple of people even this past week say, with the hyperinflation of prices that are going on around the world, ironically enough, we haven't even raised our prices recently. We're still doing the level 1 program at $1,000, which technically $1,000 is nothing these days. So go figure. You guys are all getting a great deal, no doubt about it. We could easily charge you 10 times this. So take advantage of that. And also, more importantly, just tell a friend, right? But I think that's the most important thing is, while this is still in existence, while we're still here, just tell a friend. Get the word out as much as possible. But the education program is the education program, and it's totally. We got this great team. We got Grim. I don't know whether any level 1ers in the class here or in the room here right now. But it would be interesting just to get well, Edward, yeah, of course, you are. I mean, did you like working with Grim? I think he's a fantastic person for Sean. All right, Sean, you're there. So. I hope you like working with Graham. I mean, Shark Toshi. Why does that not sound right? Anyway, Josh. What a fantastic TA. That guy. So, I don't know whether you guys are aware, but Josh actually pretty much just taught a full module in the level 2 program this past week because he loves computer programming. And he went full bore into the Pine scripting. And one of the modules that we have in our level 2 program is how to write scripts in Pine script and start using algos to help you trade. So Shark Toshi, what a gem. But I even saw Grim this morning just kicking it. Peter, sort of a newer addition to our TA team, seems to be a great resource. Yeah, oh, that's good. Good to see. I mean, like these guys are such a gem. I mean, it's just so awesome. Sean said he doesn't care if they say I'm an old man, I'm over the hill, I'm too opinionated. I'm okay in his book, so that's good. Hey, there's Graham. Yeah, good. Hats off. Just another great term. You're just setting these people up for success. And like I said, that this TRI experience is just the fucking shit, man. It just is. It's so cool. Level 2ers, like I said, Kiran and Marat, killing it. And what I love about the TRI community is we have enough education across the board that what I like to do is have people come in and do little sort of guest appearances. And actually, Kiran's business partner, Daniele, he came in and did a really nice presentation on how he day trades with the DOM and using order flow and market footprint and all those kind of fun tools for our level 3 program. So just and actually, Zach, we've had Zach, I think, successfully transition into an instructor role for the level 3 program, and I like Zach. Zach, and interestingly enough, Ray, I think, has successfully transitioned into sort of the TA position for the level 3. So they're both of them are very gung ho on options, and they do lots and lots of option stuff. So it's a beautiful experience, this TRI. The only issue is you got to deal with this Beamish guy, and he's a little bit nutso. But good part about it is what I am is I'm nutso in my outside the market kind of talks. But I don't bring the nutso to trading. When it comes to trading and doing things like being like, what's so important for me is just being a demonstrator of best practices. So as long as I can demonstrate what's supposed to be done here, then hopefully everything else takes care of itself. So I think, if anything, the nutso is good because the nutso just simply affirms that we have our right to free speech. I mean, as long as you're not overtly insulting to somebody and defamating or defamation of character, like really, like, the guy's mother's a whore, or, stuff like that. That's a bit much. But I think it's super important for us as a society to be able to keep that free speech. And it might be, God, this guy's a fucking nut job. I think that's so important. It really is. I think it's also important too not to be so politically correct. Again, just as long as if you're not being openly insulting to somebody, I think healthy discourse is good for a society. So that's why I get so angry at, like this kind of thing. I mean, this is such a fascinating cross section. These are the three principles at TRI: a Dutch guy, a Canadian guy, and an American guy. So we all have very, very different views on how the world works. But we all have our right, and we all respect our right to sort of our decision-making process and the fact that we're in a team, and so we need to work together, and ultimately we get the job done. Without somebody just sort of like stuff like this really, really bothers me because, I mean, you have to know there's no way in hell a guy like Brian could do what he's doing in this kind of world. This guy here, he would steal all my assets and throw my ass in jail and basically throw away the key and nobody would care. So we have to fight this shit as hard as we can, people. I really do. Can't stress that enough. And I hate to say it, but, I really don't like the heavy-handed thug sort of approach to international diplomacy. And frankly speaking, I'm over the top pleased to see the Russian juggernaut tank machine being humiliated by the underdogs. It pleases me to no end. And if we're really lucky, what's happening here with modern day warfare and technology is we might actually be coming to the end of the age of sort of tanks steamrolling over your country. Because you better watch out. There might be a guy sitting there with a Stinger missile. It's going to blow your ass away. Tanks won't help you in this world. Anyway, bottom line here is I certainly hope, and for the sake of anybody who likes to talk their mind on YouTube, you better hope so too, that clowns like this and clowns like this somehow they get diluted. And even if the banksters are in control, at least we get to go on YouTube and speak our mind. And we may bitch about the banks. You fucking assholes, you're terrible. Ah! At least you have the freedom to actually bitch about it. In this guy's world, you have to accept a CCP penis up your vagina, whether you like it or not. Terrible. All right. So, sorry about that. As for the market, what I think is actually happening here on a bigger scale, and I've talked to you guys about this before, and it's really cool that we got Josh actually showing this. I mean, you hate to beat a dead horse over and over and over, but really, we'll probably be using this for the rest of the year. Not only January barometer sort of saying, oh boy, it's going to be a bit of a tough slog. And actually, that's not a bad image. The only issue with an image like this is where are we? And I certainly hope we're not like selling May and then this is what we have ahead of us. Oh God, that would suck, horsecocks. There's going to be a bit of a down draft. There's no doubt about it. I think that we have probably a little bit of a rally window, and if anything, it might make sense that things like the Ukraine situation, we might find that April 4th is actually some sort of like eye of the storm kind of thing. And the hurricane, when the hurricane goes over you, when it's the eye of the storm, actually that's the calmest. And then the other side of the storm's got to move on. And maybe that's what this is, right? So we had one side of the hurricane. We're going through the eye right now. And then we have the other side of the hurricane. And I got a feeling a lot of the Fed speakers and all that kind of stuff, they've been talking about how the May, June, July, year over year inflation comparisons are going to be the worst. And it makes a lot of sense also too. We have like this decennial report. I don't know where that one is. I guess that's this one. It was actually a really good interview back in January, and he does it almost every year. Where all you're going to do is you're just going to take all the years and just what is the average of the year that ends in twos? What do they sort of look like? And you can see that sort of about halfway through this image, we hit our trough. I'm thinking that the year is going to look more like this versus that January barometer that just shows that we're going to fall off a cliff here into that May-June period. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but the point being that the economics are going to justify weak prices, and then what I'm worried about is Vladdy here is just sort of regrouping, and he's probably going to have a huddle with a whole bunch of Russian generals and say, okay, look, you kind of fucked up the first time. Now let's get the job done and do it right the second time. And, in the middle to the end of April, all hell breaks loose again in Ukraine, which leads to that second dumping lower in risk assets. It feels like something like that could happen. Then also, too, this is an interesting year for U.S. politics because we have sort of midterm elections. And as I sort of alluded to earlier, after Junior Bush was run out of Washington on a rail, the political machine violently shifted to the left. Congress and the presidency both went left. And then there was a 2-year window where they tried to get that healthcare package passed. And then once that was done, then the next election, midterm election, the Congress went right back to the Republicans. And then they spent the next, 6 years dogging Obama. We hate you, we hate you, we hate you. So I would not be surprised from sort of a capitalist perspective. And if you don't know this is a good thing to write down. You actually learn something here through all this rant. It doesn't matter what country you're in. I've seen this in Canada. I've seen it in the UK. I've seen it in the United States. Obviously down in South and Central American countries. The market and capitalism, it absolutely hates when one party is in power. Why? Because if one party has complete control, they can basically dictate policy. They can change the rules. They can change taxation. They can change accounting. They can change the law. They can do anything they want, and business hates that kind of uncertainty, not knowing what the hell the landscape's going to be. And you hear fucking Biden. I mean, God, if you listen to Biden, the United States of America is going to basically give up on the oil industry and go entirely green. I don't think it's a realistic objective quite in the short term. But if you listen to him, I mean, hell, he won't even talk about Keystone pipelines or North Dakota Balkan oil. I mean, technically, North America's got all the oil it ever needs. It just got to bring it to market. And the left-leaning part of our society, who seems to be, it's fascinating how the left seems to be very cozy with science. And science, for some reason, seems to be an excuse for the left to socialize things and to destroy existing infrastructure. I might argue that, ironically enough, it will be science that actually gets us out of the global warming problem. It will be science that says, well, theoretically, if you do this, this, and this, and this, you can reduce CO2 in the atmosphere and in the environment, and we can start reversing these negative effects. But for some reason, what ends up happening, I see in our modern day vernacular or conversation, is science, global warming, all that kind of stuff. It's used as a lever to I don't know what the word is. Force society to do less. Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word. Anyway, point I would say is anytime you ever see a one-sided government, it's terrible for the capitalists. Terrible, terrible, terrible. And now you see what's happened to what's happened to China. Anybody looked at a Chinese investment over the past few years? How's it done since Winnie the Pooh has basically established himself as a totalitarian dictator for life? I mean, it was I think like in the early 2000s to get China out of the fucking Stone Age. I think the leftist, centrist controlled sort of people kind of acquiesced a little bit, and they gave power to the capitalist and the pro business types in the Chinese government, and there was a bit of a back and forth, I think. But over the past 5-10 years, it feels like, I mean, we don't even hear about, oh, well, we're building out China's economy anymore. You don't hear about that at all. All of a sudden now it's, well, China is a first world nation, so fuck you. It's like, wow, have times ever changed? I mean, hell, I remember just a few years ago, the whole plan was we wanted to bring China into the 21st century or the 20th century. Anyway, so you can see what happened. Obviously, Vladdy and the capitalist hasn't gone very well there over in Russia, but that's a bit of an extreme example. Hell, even here in Canada, ironically enough, the stock market loves the fact that we have a minority government. The guy's running around acting like a despot, but technically he's a minority. It's fascinating to see how that's played out. And also, too, that's probably a really good anecdote that if you are in government, the absolute number one thing that you absolutely love is a big fat crisis, like a war or a sickness. And this is one thing I think Donald Trump just never got. He could have literally walked right back into office on his second election if he had just literally said, look at nation, we've got a health crisis here. Let's leave it up to the doctors. We'll do what the doctors suggest. Every single country that has done that, that's democratic, the party that's been in power has walked right back into office. But he didn't take that approach. He took the exact opposite approach. And ironically enough, it cost him in the end. And I think that was a major blunder on his part. But anyway, we know there's one guy over on the YouTube page who's going to get angry at me if I ever criticize Mr. Orange Toupee. All right, so back to our conversation originally. The whole point of this image, I think, is that, well, not that image. This image. You'll notice that, this is midterm election. The entire U.S. government, of course, is controlled by, well, not entire. There's still a little sliver of right-wing sort of, not even control, but sort of semi-control over in the U.S. Senate. But U.S. House of Representatives, and they always say who actually controls the U.S. government? It's the U.S. Congress. They control the purse strings. The president is nothing more than just the advocate for the people. That's what he's supposed to be. Anyway. So point of the matter here is I think we're in this part of the cycle. We got one more down wave into sort of May, June, July. And ironically enough, if you go back historically, anybody who's a fan of seasonality in the markets love to tank right into that July 4th weekend. Then everybody wraps their arms wraps themselves in the flag. Rah, rah, America, and we usually put in a base through that July 4th weekend, and then we rally for the rest of the summer. I mean, it's incredible how cliche it is, right? They always say sell in May and walk away. Whenever we get close to Brian's birthday, you should all be thinking just in the back of your heads, oh boy, be careful. Maybe the way you should think about it is, oh, I got to buy Brian a gift because he's changed my life so much, so I better think about selling some of these winners that I've had recently and to actually get the cash to buy him a big fat gift. Close. So anyway, point of the matter here is what I think happens here is, believe it or not, I actually think by sort of the middle of the summer, the market actually figures out who's going to win the election in November. That's usually how it goes. Shane, do you mind responding to my DMs there over on the site, please? Wouldn't mind having a convo with you relatively soon. So keep in mind that the U.S. presidential election is right here. What would cause this stock market to rally, given the that backdrop that I painted? What would cause the market to rally appreciably like this? Would it be that the socialists take even more control of the U.S. government? Or would it maybe be that the balance of power starts to sort of, balance, if you will, and the U.S. government actually becomes a lame duck? Believe it or not, actually, I think me personally, I'm going to be planning and I'm going to be betting on case number 2. I actually think the Republicans are going to come storming back into power. Now, the irony of it all is that might actually undermine who coming back 2 years from now. We'll see how that goes. But I definitely think that Mr. Biden, he's going to have a tough last couple of years of this past presidency. Because I don't really think he's actually delivered too much on what the American public really wants. I think it's been kind of a floundering presidency. That's just my personal impression. And I think the Americans lost a lot of face over Afghanistan, and it emboldened people like Winnie the Pooh, and it emboldened people like Vladdy. And I don't think the American public really likes that. That's my impression, but who knows? We'll see what happens. Anyway, so the point of the matter here is we have the election cycle supporting the backside. We know that the peak inflation year-over-year comparisons, the Fed's told us, they are going to look the worst in May, June, July. And I think, and this is the impression that I'm getting, that this Ukrainian war thing, it hasn't really gone that well, has it? For Russia? I mean, I think what Vladdy was hoping originally was that he could steamroll into Ukraine, take over the government, install his own puppet, and the whole thing will be done in a few weeks. And the exact opposite has happened. And you might even find with this April sort of event, that was his event window. And now if we go on the other side of that, you might actually find that this thing just goes horribly, horribly against Mr. Putin. We will see. Only time will tell. I'll tell you one thing. They recently reported, now, you never know if you can trust any of these statistics. But I did recently read that something like in the 10 years that the USSR was fighting in Afghanistan, the total deaths was around 15,000. And the Ukrainian government, of course, like I said, you can't trust any of these guys' numbers. But they are now starting to publish statistics saying that 17,000 Russians have been killed. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but who knows. Point being that, and I did watch this one very interesting video where this quote-unquote elite brigade from this town northeast of Moscow, literally all of the male population of this town now is gone. And every single day, they're getting news of another, boy. And the problem is that all they get is a report of their deaths. They don't have any context of why they died or how they died or where they died. Just, this guy's no longer with us. That person died. So at some point, this is going to start coming back to Mr. Putin. I mean, these, you can't hide 15,000 of your young boys all dying let alone how many of them are getting injured and going to come back maimed and it not having some sort of repercussion. Like I said, I thought it was interesting that the comparison that I saw on the one guy said 15,000 boys were killed in Afghanistan, and that was sort of the USSR's uncle point. I mean, hell, we're only a month or so into this, and that's how many have died now. So we also could see that this could turn into like the Chechen War, right? There were two Chechen wars. And, I think Vladdy actually, he doesn't have a problem with this, where he might even say, okay, well, you know what? This was the first Ukrainian war. And then he's going to reload and, tell everybody peace, 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 peace. And then in 5 years, he'll do the whole damn thing again. And it will be the second Ukrainian war. That wouldn't surprise me too either, Anyway, it should make for a fun environment. I guess the point that I would just make is if we are thinking May, June, even into early July for our bottom, should we not be maybe thinking, and then like we showed there on the this report here shows the middle of April, all of these markets look like they all top out. Should we not be maybe thinking that maybe the market should be topping out? And we're going to be troughing for like the next couple months? Makes sense to me. So when we look at a breadth indicator that looks like that, does that kind of correspond? And my apologies, I just took basically the past hour to build you up to this. But I'm trying to sort of paint a backdrop, and we talk about the war and, these damn fucking totalitarian dictatorships and how markets act in the face of them and all that. When we look at our breadth indicator and we see this message, do you see how this kind of corresponds with everything that I just sort of laid out there, looking for a trough sometime in sort of June, July? Does that make sense? That's where I was going with all of this. Took a fucking half an hour to get there. But we got a big, fat, ugly signal there in breadth. And what's interesting, too, about this is I'm a big fan of Dow theory. Usually transports have to follow, the industrials have to follow the transports. So we see transports actually were breaking down initially here back sort of middle of March and kind of waffled here. You can see the industrials themselves started to break down near the end of the month. So you can see the transports are even a little bit ahead. And if anything, I don't like the look of this because now you have the teal sloping down. And we have that negative cross here. This now actually, if the teal or the slow indicator is pointing up and we get a cross, I like to call that a weak signal. It's a sell signal, but it's a weak signal. If, however, we get a breakdown, and this is pretty darn close to that cross breakdown kind of idea, and teal is actually sloping downward, that's a fast, strong sell signal. I also really don't like the fact that we have all three of these components all sitting up here basically topping out. Look at the utilities. I mean, basically everybody went bull there, and now they're all crapping out in unison here. I mean, God, I can't remember last time I saw that at 100. The commodity, actually the entire, and this would make sense. This should correspond. Basically, all the different sectors of the economy all rallied in unison there, and now they're all breaking down. Ugh. Commodity prices themselves are actually coming off here a bit. The only thing that actually looks even the slightest bit uppy here are the bonds, and I think that's just nothing more than a dead cat bounce. If we look around the world, U.S. market, sell signal, European market, sell signal, but a weak signal. So ironically enough, the one place in the world that isn't falling absolutely to pieces yet. Canada, interestingly enough, Canada did break down there 2 or 3 weeks ago. And Australia now, weak signal, so actually still relatively okay, and actually not even overbought. So that's the interesting thing about Australia. And this might speak to the metals markets because Australia, of course, is very metals oriented. Also, too, and I've been wondering this, we're getting a little bit of a sell signal here in the short term, so there's no hurry here. But, China has gone through its shit. And ironically enough, if things don't go very well for Vladdy, does that help China's desire to incorporate Taiwan back into sort of the country's fold? And ironically enough, the one participant in the world economy that probably didn't like what Russia did there with Ukraine was China, because that sort of, it paints China now with the same paintbrush if they want to go and do what they want to do in Taiwan. It's ironic. So in a weird sort of way, what Vladdy's doing in Russia or in Ukraine is just, it's probably to a certain degree, it's pissing China off to no end. You're totally screwing things up here, buddy. If, however, Russia had gone in very quickly and just swallowed up Ukraine, then China could go, Taiwan, you're next. Here we come. So fascinating how that's played out. So what I wonder is if the market is kind of going, okay, well, maybe China making a play on Taiwan's not that realistic of a scenario now. Why would I say that? We've had a gentleman here on the site who's actually taken my 1980s website weekly commodity trend survey, and he's actually and he's even now, we had it running on a Google spreadsheet, but it was very, very clunky the way that the Google script worked. He's now gone and Pythoned all the scripts up, and actually got his wife to create like a WordPress site, and he just dumped all the data on a WordPress site. And I gotta say, man, this is pretty damn slick. It's it's from a commodity trader's perspective, where we want to try and buy undervalued markets relative to the mean. We want to sell overvalued. And then we want to try and time our purchases by using simple moving average relationships on things like weekly price charts to help us see like trending markets. And we only really want to buy markets that are flashing trending signals that are below the mean. And what we really want to do is we just want to capture this window. Sell half on a 2-to-1, Brian's usual rant, stop to scratch on remaining, and just see where the hell the damn market takes you. And that's the way the pros really trade the market. Institutions buy down markets. So what this really says is we want to try and concentrate on assets that have been beaten up and that are trying to turn back up. And I thought it was interesting, looking at this whole board. If I look at things like the commodities markets, Australian dollar just recently flashed a buy signal. It's not a cheap asset. This is expensive, right? It's actually above the 50% rule. So it wouldn't be like slam dunk value investing. But, if Brian's going to trade a formation, who can tell me what does that kind of look like that Brian might be interested in trading? And so this is, I don't know, first off, can we answer that? Does anybody know? Wait, if I show you an image like that, what do you think Brian's thinking? Hey, there you go. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, John. And John, of course, is the one who wrote this fucking script. Absolute genius. And actually, we're going to try John Sjord and his assistant, Ewan. We're going to try and have that meeting with you. So really like to get him going. But anyway, back to our story here. So interesting how the Australian dollar flashed a recent trending signal there. Interesting. And then we scroll down and what's this? EWA, Australian stock market. It also just flashed a buy signal. Not really value, but do you see the reoccurring theme here? Something's going on down under. Down under. I don't know what it is, but the impression that I get is I think the world, believe it or not, was kind of worried that fucking China was going to pick a fight with Australia. Because the way China and Australia were going there for a while, it wasn't looking very pretty, was it? And everything was like, oh, fuck, when are the Chinese going to invade Taiwan? But literally, since the moment that Russia, and keep in mind, like, where's February, right? February's right here. Something happened and it changed the conversation. And now China and Asia don't look so bad. So I thought that was a really interesting development. And ironically enough, if I'm actually going to invest in Asia, you're not really allowed to invest directly in Japan, right? Japan's an incredibly controlled society. A really great example is try and go and open up a cryptocurrency account on the Japanese stock market, or not stock market, Japanese cryptocurrency market. Is it Bybit? I think Bybit is the Japanese one. Anyway, like literally, if you are a foreigner, you have to pay like a 15% premium, and they just say it right out front. If you're not Japanese, get the fuck out. We don't want you. So if I was going to invest in China, and if I, or not China, if I wait, I'm not going to invest in China. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. If I was going to invest in Asia, yeah, you might be, Andre. Yeah, you might be. I've never really gone down that road. What I was just going to simply say is, if I was going to invest in Asia, my proxy that I would use would be Australia. And I see some of you posted there that did Australia just do a free trade deal with India? Fascinating. So that's an interesting development that I'm not aware of. That would be really interesting to check into. But anyway, shake it. It looks like Australia is firming up here a little bit, which actually surprised me a bit. And this is one way that you can use this this database that John's built. We're going to try and put it on the site. Interesting how sugar is actually flashing a buy signal. But I thought this was interesting for the site members. This is a good thing if you don't know about it, write it down. Why would sugar be bullish? Maybe what I need to do is show you an image of this. And interesting how that's actually topping out. You know, the moving averages here, you can see, and actually, gee whiz, look how long ago it was that this moving average crossed bullishly. It's way over there, right? So why would sugar be flashing this bullish sign? And I actually think that it's flashing that bullish sign because actually there's a lot of people that use sugar as fuel. And I'm also hearing a lot of, that the Brazil is coming back big time. Interesting to keep an eye on Brazil. But interesting how sugar is trying to retrend there higher, right? We got one low, two lows, maybe one more dip against this Wyckoff level here. Yeah, might even start drawing bullish bots here. I'm hearing a lot of, commodity products are getting bid up as well. So there's that. But I did find that Australian data really surprising. That really jumped out at me. So both the Australian dollar and probably the Australian dollar looks better, but also Australian stocks. So back to our original conversation about the dashboard. It's kind of interesting how Australia never did get stupidly overbought the way that we've gotten stupidly overbought here in like Canada and the United States and even Europe, if I'm not mistaken, right? Oh, yeah, that is Europe right there, right? Once we get above 80, you got to be very, very leery. And actually, Canada didn't do so badly. It got above 70, and then it started backing off. But it's interesting how Australia never really did get overbought, which in a weird sort of way, if Australia can hang in there, and like I said, if it can... and actually, it's so cool, like this page, we do this. So that's from the commodities markets. Then you can go over to things like the exchange traded funds. And you can look at the country funds. And again, first off, we don't really have any screaming buys in the market right now. At best, we have fours. And fours are, they're not really that exciting. But if you trade the trend, you can see, it looks like these both Australia, so there's that Australian market again. turning back up. Do I have a chart pattern there that I could trade? No, I don't like that. It's a V bottom. It looks like this was a head and shoulders. So your technical target should be up here somewhere on the head and shoulders. But you know me, I got to have like 3 higher lows. So I think that needs to consolidate a bit more. But also, too, Malaysia. I thought that was interesting. Nice little buy signal there. So this one actually looks a little bit better because you got 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows. You could probably bot that out. My hunch is a bot probably comes in somewhere in here. So keep your eyes peeled on Malaysia. What does Malaysia do, though? That's what I always find fascinating. What the hell does Malaysia actually do? I think they have palm oil, don't they? I don't know what else Malaysia does. Anyway, interesting how both that, and maybe it's a function of that free trade. But interesting how both of them are spitting out buys there. There's Taiwan. Nothing really to get excited about on Taiwan. I suppose if you guys are saying India signed a free trade agreement, let's see what India looks like. You can see the trend is, you know what India looks like? India looks a lot like crypto right now. Trend's still not, I don't think, ready to go here. Still needs a lot of work. Anyway, so really cool tool that John's built here. Super awesome. And the interesting thing about this is we don't give a shit about your opinion. Opinions don't mean anything. And I hate to say it, but to do well in investing, I thought it was interesting through that crisis there that we just had a couple of years ago. We were actually being issued buy signals on oil at like $30, $40, $50 a barrel. So you tell me, was that a good idea? Here we are at 100, whatever. So I guess the simple question here is anything in the market a buy right now? I can't do that. Anyway, I wouldn't mind highlighting just this row or this column. And no, nothing is a buy right now in the market. Got a whole bunch of hunting for buys. And some of these little junior stocks look so sexy. Like this, the way that John's built this is so fucking cool. He's actually gone and screened for share counts, and this is where most people in the public fail at investing, is they just don't understand that there's 2 criteria that you have to measure stocks by, and everybody forgets the number of shares outstanding. And they come in and they buy like a 10, 20 cent stock, and they think they're buying a cheap stock, but it's got like 1 billion shares out, so it's actually extremely expensive. So if you start your research from this point, we're only going to be interested in stocks that have less than 30, 40 million shares out. This one's a little bit heavy. I think also there's my CLAS. You remember from last fall, 35 million out. It's okay. It's not danger situation. But you can see, look at all these. What does 5 mean? 5 means, and you take any of these. 5 means we're right down at the bottom end of the range. I mean, you tell me if this thing ever gets its act together, has it got any room to move up? Institutions buy what markets? They buy down markets. Now, I'm not saying this thing's a buy yet. We can see our moving averages. They're still very, very bearish. There's no reason to get excited here yet. But this is definitely one that I would just really simply saying, I'm waiting for a buy, like something like this. Notice I'm a bear, then all of a sudden it runs into this level. It just can't go any lower. Then a big old W comes in and the moving average crosses and boom, nice rally. So that's what I'm waiting for, but it's waiting for a buy. It's not a buy yet. We're just waiting for a buy. Ironically enough, it's exactly the same thing as that little pharma stock I was all excited about there. Same thing. The CLAS, there it is right there. You tell me, if this thing gets its act together, has it got any room to move up here? But half the problem with being paid, with investing and making money from trading, and actually we have Shane here. Shane's an absolutely perfect fucking anecdote of this. Shane and I first got to know this story back before it even had a US dollar quote. And the key, and the funny thing is back when when I first got to know Shane, This place didn't even exist. Binance didn't. It was a twinkle in some guy's eye. Like, this is how long Shane and I have known each other, and we used to joke about how there was price gaps on the weekly chart of Doge. This one right here is at 120. But there were even price gaps up here, like if you went on maybe Trex and stuff. And this is versus Bitcoin too, right? So that's not even versus US dollar. I don't even know if there is a US dollar quote on this thing going back that far. Phoenix might have a pretty old data. Oops, no. Darn. I don't know where I could get Polo, but does Polo have a US dollar quote? I don't think so. What do we got here? What the hell's that? Elon US dollar? Wow, that's bizarre. Anyway, what I was trying to show you was Polo. Come on, Polo. Hey, there we go. Let's see if this works. But this hasn't been around that. Oh, yeah, see it. It's only 2018. Anyway, so Shane and I have known each other a while now, it seems. We used to joke, and I remember standing I remember Shane did a set up on stage of his DJing, and his. Are you two married yet, or is Vanessa still your girlfriend? Anyway, she was there. Alex Stirk was there. Actually, I think it was the place where if you guys have ever seen my funny little. My funny little pictures of Doge. I don't know whether I still have those or not. Anyway, point I'm trying to make here. Actually, maybe even Phoenix has old data. No, darn knucklehead. Anyway, Shane and I have known each other forever. Well, not forever, but in crypto terms, a long time. Hey, there we go. Hey, yeah, okay, perfect. How ironic. Trex, of all places. All right, so we used to joke, believe it or not, back here that, at some point, wicks and tails like Teton, and I seem to remember there was a gap up here. Maybe it's because this is a weekly price chart. Maybe on the daily charts it shows. But we used to joke about Doge needed to fill in a gap. I seem to remember up here there was a gap. Somewhere up here. Oh, well, I don't see it. All right. Somebody doesn't want me to talk anymore. Are we done here today? Did I hang up? I think somebody just did it by accident. Anyway, so point here. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. And I can't even remember why we got onto this, but what a great analogy. If you had just come along here and just accumulated Doge down in here, eh? I mean, would you have been happy? Does this not look at that image, right? Ugh. And then look at this image. Does that not look somewhat the same? Looks similar, right? So this is the kick in the pants about capitalism, is can you just sit there, if you bought something and you believe there's value in it, can you just sit there and do absolutely nothing? I can't answer that question for you. Only you can answer it. I am long. And actually, I even bought a bit more of this recently. So anyway, I'm not really in a big hurry to do anything, but it is interesting how it did pop up on our screener here. And that's basically what fives are. You notice all these fives. These fives are all like, well, definitely got a lot of potential. There's the 50% rule. Moving averages are still bearish. It hasn't crossed bullish. If this moving average crosses bullish here, then this thing spits out a 6. And then, you got to pull the trigger, right? And the best way I would suggest, if you are looking at something like this, is you wait for the 6 to come in, because it's a weekly signal. These are slow signals. And then you drill down to your daily chart and you start hunting trade setups. It's really simple. And there are a lot of names in the venture cap market that look like this. And the problem right now is that basically this thing's been going straight down for like a year and a half. Could it take another 2 or 3 months to go through this process of bottoming out and then coming out of the summer start looking pretty bullish? I think so. And interestingly enough, these guys, they're medical. So the way that these stocks move is what they call phase 1 and phase 2 clinical trials. And if you can get by phase 2 and positive results, usually the stocks are just going fucking crazy. And then they go on to phase 3, which is sort of like, does this, thing actually come to market? So phase 2, oh, gee whiz, they've even told the public, expect phase 2 clinical trials this coming fall. So how ironic. The fundamentals are actually telling you to expect rally sometime this fall. And the technicals are saying, it's cheap. It's trying to W, but the trend is still down, and it's basically in accumulation mode. That's the way I would look. If you can look at this kind of spreadsheet, especially if we do good fundamentals and we screen stocks that are relatively cheap and shares for debt, options to directors, we know the insiders are long. This particular one, we know that there's a big convertible debenture up at about 50, 60 cents. So if this thing's got any kind of half decent chance, that's probably where it's going to run to. And really, the 5 is just telling you, just pay attention. It's just that simple. Like the heading is, right? We are hunting buys. Now, the interesting thing is there any other part of the market that's spitting up a lot? Notice, in the commodities, are there anything that's even remotely buyable now? Fuck no. Everything's all bid up. It's too expensive. Who's buying? I mean, think of it this way, people. Who is buying that market right now? I mean, honestly. And, if you want to get good at trading, you have to understand this. Who's buying this market? Are the institutional players buying that market? How does the expression go? Do institutions buy up markets or do they buy down markets? All right. So point here is, this might go higher. Don't get me wrong, but I can tell you institutional players, they're not buying here. They were probably coming in on hard. And I remember, what pisses me off is I remember the buy signals were coming in here and I ignored them. And I was like, oil's last century story. And I want to date with Greta. And there's no way Greta's going to talk to me if I tell you guys to buy oil stocks. Well, what a fucking stupid idiot I am. Look at that. It just keeps going and going and going. And now, do you notice at the end of the move, what's this called? Does anybody know what this is called? The market is going something. And you can actually even see it in price. What's that? And you crypto kids, you've seen this countless times. What are you supposed to do if your coin does this, right? Straight up. The market is going parabolic. That's the definition of the market going parabolic. So it's kind of ironic. We used to always say that you can always judge the end of a commodities move if the commodities price itself doubles in under 6 months' time. So you can see where the base is here. If you wanted to play this latest move higher in crude, I think it's pretty obvious. Maybe it's something along those lines. Hunt buys over here. There's our moving average cross of turning back up off of the W, all that shit, right? So what is that base? That base is, the low here is 63 and the breakout's 73. So what I'm thinking is 70 times 2, 140. So this is what's scary about this. Has this actually doubled off of this base? I don't think so. Could we have one more push higher here up into the 140, 150 area to finish the move? Also, check this out. This kind of freaks you out when you see this. There's 2.618. What's actually supposed to happen, if I understand Foggy's correctly, is market's supposed to go up to 2.618, then come back down and re-kiss the breakout. And I wonder whether this is that process. Didn't quite get down in there. It should have gotten down into here. Maybe there's one more push lower here. But, I've been studying Foggies now for the past 3 or 4 years pretty religiously. And what I notice is usually the market rallies up into that 2.618, then comes back down and kisses the original breakout. And then, where do we go next? That, I think, has got probably the end of our move. And maybe that is what actually is what the market's gunning for here into that May, June, July window where the year-over-year comparisons are the worst. I wouldn't be surprised if that's our ultimate destination. So I'm not necessarily saying that oil is a short here. If anything, what I would prefer to see is first and foremost, there's no trade here. This is just fucking absolute mess. If anything, what bothers me a lot is that this is basically just a reload zone, eh? See how they just backed this huge straight up move. All they did was back it up into the reload zone, fill the gap in, and we're going to start our way higher again. Which means, and keep in mind, and who can tell me if you're a commodities broker, how does the pitch go? When do we want to sell our unleaded gasoline? Live by this shit, people. When do we want to buy our unleaded gasoline? Anyway, story, guys, you want to buy your unleaded the middle of February. Sell it the middle of May, which is way over here. And you made money 9 out of the past 10 years. And in a weird sort of way, doesn't it kind of look like a big old bot is setting up here to take us up top? Scares the hell out of me. So boom, boom. We did not go through that low. So that means we're going to clone this. If this is the low, I still think there could be one more stab against this original breakout here. Maybe on some sort of, what I'm worried about is the stupid fucking Russians are going to go, all right, yeah, we'll have peace, we'll have peace, we'll have peace, we'll have peace. Put your guns down, put your guns down. Ah, psych! Brrr, gun them all down. And that's the end of that. They always say, never trust a fucking Russian. That's Willie Thuvesen talking, not Brian Peevish. I'm quoting my old Norwegian client, never trust a Russian. And of course, all you Russian lovers, you absolutely hate when I say that shit. Anyway, so that's what I'm worried about is I got a funny feeling there's going to be some sort of head fake. Oh, yeah, we're going to declare peace. Everything's fine, right? And then, room, up she goes. Jerks. So if this low holds, and I don't know whether it's going to hold or not, but if this low holds, and we go 1 low, 2 lows, you know how the spiel goes, 3 lows, and oh boy, here we go. So I don't know whether that comes in, but let's see where the bot entry would be. And survey says, boom. So actually interesting. You can see how long I've been doing this silly game. I can almost tell you exactly where that breakout should come. And really, if you wanted to play the bull, what I think you want to do is you want to wait for this trend line. Give me a nice W on the other side of it. Actually, almost exactly as I drew that. Give me a nice W over here, and away we go. And like I said, the seasonal peak, and actually this would align perfectly because there's good old 4669, good old Foggenbaum. there is Brian's ABCD. And what's interesting is if we put things like 127s, that's not what I wanted. Well, let's just go 1.272. ABCD could take us up into here. It's totally normal. So that would be fine for 4669 chaos theory. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have some sort of big horrendous push up here. But the problem here is that investing here, I mean, you just don't know. It's not value as far as I'm concerned. And I'm all about value. So, I'd much rather throw some money into a name like that I think is actually trading at value. So anyway. So it is interesting to see that hunting value. Looks like we got a bunch of venture cap names that actually look pretty respectable. Where else? Oh, this is interesting. What's this category down here? Have you guys ever heard of this stuff? Crypto? Anybody know what a crypto is? That's a whole fucking hell of a lot of fives, eh? Look at this. Look at all these fives. I mean, they're everywhere. So it's interesting too, right? Remember we said we want to buy when, yeah, I suppose, Edward. I don't want it to go all the way up there, though. Boo, his boo. But interesting. Remember I showed you on the Australian dollar, right? That was a sign like in the Australian stock market. I don't think they're buys and I don't think they're value, but you saw that the trend had just turned up. Look how long all of these trends have been down, eh? Just forever. So I am very, very interested. And I love these kind of markets. I love markets that have been down, 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 down. And it's interesting, actually. What are the markets? What did we say 2 was? 2 was not necessarily a sell. We don't necessarily want to short it, but hunting sells. So it's interesting how we did have a VCIM name being a hunting a sell. What does that look like? Well, that kind of looks the exact opposite to what that CLAS looks like, eh? It's not necessarily a sell. Like we can see, the moving averages are still positive. So in simplest ways, when you look at an asset like that, what do you think should be, and maybe answer this as like, what do you think Brian would be thinking here? If I had then, and hopefully you all look at this and go, well, I can see exactly where Brian wants to be long. Funny, the name Mongolia Growth Group. What the fuck is that? I mean, you better know the fundamental story here. Good. I have no idea what the fundamentals are, but nonetheless, it's kind of funny. Okay, there's the chart, so I can actually draw this. Hopefully, everybody goes, well, gee whiz, it looks like the W is right there. Does that not look like a W? Down, up, down, breakout. And then notice, look at the moving averages, right? These are the weekly moving averages. You can see it actually turned up right here. So you notice that Brian, remember I had said earlier, you want to wait for the moving average to cross. And then you just want to hunt. Give me technical reason to get long, right? Even 24 cents, it's not terrible. You could have even said, well, you know what? There's a W. It's crossed bullishly. I'm just going to work a bid off of the double bottom. Or maybe you even say, okay, well, there's a double bottom. The moving averages have crossed bullishly and it meets our screen, low share count, all that. And lo and behold, look at that cute little W that came in down there. Interesting how they pulled a little FU against these lows, eh? Typical VSC. Anyway, the point I would just say is I think you're getting lots of bullish signals here. This is where I think you need to be long. So where is that in relation to where we are now? Oh, that's oh, wow. See, this is why I invest in venture capital, right? This is why. That's 10x. So if our little screener here is spitting out 2s, what's that trying to tell you? Well, it's really, Andre, it's up to you and your plan. What type of risk management strategy are you employing? How much of your stake are you employing? There's a bunch. What's your temperament? If I'm running a book of retail business, and my system says 6 right here when the thing moves up, and I've looked and done my due diligence, and it turns out it only has 27 million shares out, and all the directors are loaded up from 10, 15 cents. I don't mind my little old ladies coming in. Brian, I got $10,000 with you. Can you throw $500 on this? Okay, sure. Go for it. Have fun. I don't have a problem with that. The $5,000 is now turned into what? That's 10x, right? So basically 50 grand. Hey, that worked out pretty well. I would suggest if Granny did buy that $500 when it doubled in value, sell half, get yourself a risk-free trade, blah, blah, blah. And then if you just want to forget about this, then the damn stock might be $20, $30. It might get taken over by American Barrick down the road. We talked last week in the Daily Briefs about how the capitalist system works. Sadly, given the part of the world here, what I would expect is that if this thing actually did work and it became seriously valuable, then the CCP would come along and say, thank you very much for the contribution to your country's future, and go and join Mr. Ma there in the corner with the ball gag in his mouth. And if you don't, we'll be more than happy to murder you or maybe rape you a little bit, depending on what your attitude is. That's terrible. I tell you, folks, if it's one thing I've learned in my lifetime, is do not fucking invest in China. I mean, it's just the dumbest thing you'll ever do in your life. You want to invest, if you're going to invest in China and that kind of stuff, at least go and find North Americanly listed companies that you can at least trust the North American system to be somewhat accountable, but don't go and directly invest your money in China. I've seen too many times people's money just literally gets stolen from them. And you want a really, really good example of that? Even one of the names that we use to teach the level 3 program, it just so happened it was a Chinese stock. What the hell is the name of that damn thing? But literally the CCP, it was trading at below value. I mean, it was an absolute dirt steal. And the CCP literally came along and just stole the company. Just literally froze out all the Western investors. Fuck you. What are you going to do about it? And that is so typical Chinese capitalism. Maybe what would be a good lesson for you if you're thinking about investing in China is Google the term Shanghai. Shanghai. Try and remember that. What does the term Shanghai actually refer to? It's kind of sad what it actually refers to. Anyway, so I thought it was really interesting, and this is where I was going with this whole conversation today. Sorry it took me forever to get here. But son of a bitch, man, look at all these goddamn fucking 5s in crypto. They're everywhere. And I've actually been buying these. I bought some of this XEM the other day because I looked at the chart, and here's the kick in the pants, guys, is whatever I say would be completely meaningless. At least I would think it would be. If I didn't go and eat my own cooking, right? I mean, wouldn't I be the biggest hypocrite in the fucking world if I was like, oh yeah, look at all these fun ideas? I like the CLAS, right? Oh yeah, well, it's got low share count, options to directors, the whole thing, right? But you actually ask, well, Brian, did you buy it? Oh no, no, I wouldn't buy any, no way. Come on. That would be a waste of time. So, like, it would, frankly speaking, it would be insulting to all of you. I didn't buy this yak, but I wish I did. But that CLAS that I was just showing you a second ago, where the hell is it? Anyway, you all know. I mean, I am long. I've got, I'm long about 30, 40,000 shares. But I like this chart so much the other day. I just was like, you know what? I mean, it's what I do. I just got to go and buy some. So, I mean, the irony of it all is that's actually where I expect it to trade back to. So I bought some at about 11 and a half. I don't know what's going to happen here. I took such a small bet. I think it was like 0.03 BTC, something like that. That's about $1,500 or something. Then hell, I can just sit on it. It's not going anywhere. It just sits there. But this is a very typical 5 sort of scenario. Hunting for a buy. It's not necessarily a buy just yet. Institutional players buy down markets. We start seeing the W's starting to come in here. Market actually stops making lower lows and actually starts making higher highs. I mean, if does it have a divergence? Oh yeah, there's a big RSI divergence. It's actually been confirmed here. I mean, if I didn't buy this, then really there'd be no point in me doing courses and all that kind of shit for you guys. I'd be just a hypocrite. So if anything, it's probably better. Now, hey, I might go down with the ship here. I don't know. But if anything, it's important that you know that I eat my own cooking. And when I saw this list by John, I was like, oh my goodness, I got to go shopping. I already did. I think I've talked to you guys. So I did buy this XEM. I bought a whack of this Ave, and actually I tried to like pick a bottom here, and I was too early. I tried to pick a bottom here, and it looks like I'm okay. Still think I'm early. Now, why does this get a 5? Well, it's below the 50% rule. It's moving up aggressively now. And it's, reload zones near the bottom end of its trading range, but the moving averages haven't turned up. When the moving averages turned up, then it'll spit out a 6 if it's still well below the 50% rule. Uniswap, you just go through name after name after name. They all look the same down at the bottom end of its range. Hasn't turned yet, but definitely attractive. I thought this was interesting. Bitcoin Cash, of all names. And actually, we were even asking on the site, is Roger Ver, does anybody hear from Roger Ver anymore? But same logic, right back down the bottom end of his range, starting to spit out things like bull divs on these move lower in price, but the trend is still down. Yeah. And there's a ton of these. Does it make sense that I could very easily, and it doesn't matter whether it's this or any of the other ones, the CLAS, it's the same thing. DCNEO report, election year report, year-over-year inflation comparisons, the way that crude oil looks like it still could make another leg higher. Does it not make sense that maybe this thing takes another couple months to turn that corner? And coming out of sort of the end of June, beginning of July, that's when we're going to get our turn back up. It makes sense to me. So we're close, but we're still probably about 2 or 3 months away. And as I had said, I don't have any 6s. So we're like none of these markets are spitting up buy signals. None. And you can see none of them are trending higher. They're all still trending lower. But we're getting closer. At least we've got 5s now. This is a good thing to see. We have guys on the site. I know Adam, for instance, he's really interested in this Filecoin. I like seeing the volume pattern here. But you can see we're still trending down. But we're definitely at the bottom end of his range. He's trying to start spitting out W's. You can see the bottom. There's probably a nice bull div down in here. We just got to wait for that sort of next 2 or 3 month window to turn. And I think there's actually going to be a substantial little rally coming out of the middle of the summer. Probably out of the middle of the summer and into probably the Democratic convention. Mind you, I don't know. No, I don't think there would be I don't know how that works. I know that they, once we. Yeah, no, I can't even comment. I got to look into that a little bit more. There should be some catalysts around these sort of election sort of results and stuff, as caucuses and all that kind of stuff. That should start to paint pivot points, and then also too, I would say, if Vladdy and his buddy Schmoley, is that what we call him, Schmoley? Anyway, if Vladdy and Schmoley end up actually hugging and kissing and making up and declare a bit of peace there, we might see that that's the catalyst. I have a feeling that doesn't come for another month or so. In fact, it would be interesting to measure, because I think like April 4th here is the vortex. So this is sort of like the eye of the storm. So when did Vladdy actually start this nonsense? Wasn't it like the middle of February? Does anybody know the date in the middle of February when he actually invaded? So my hunch is this is the middle, and kind of like what I show you with Bitcoin and how it's got like a billiard ball theory kind of thing. Where is that? I haven't even really got to the question, so I should probably shut the hell up. I'm just blabbing away here endlessly. Anyway, what I was kind of hoping the message that you heard from me today was we're close, probably about another 2 or 3 months away, and then we'll go back into bull mode. Actually, it's interesting. Shane's here with us today. I conned Shane into buying some of this backed. About, I don't know, a few weeks ago. I bought some myself, but I think he bought some. I can't remember. And I think you could see a very similar scenario there, where here it is. And you see how it's trying to bottom? Same sort of thing. And this is a crypto proxy. I mean, who can tell me what's the propensity for that gap to be filled in? Oh, he's saying something. What are you saying there? Had 2 price gaps get hit. I should have went for the cheaper one. All right. Yeah, there's like a good 90% chance for that to get filled in there. I mean, it's that high, 90%. That's a lot. Oh, thank you. Yeah, actually, I didn't finish that thought. Sorry, everyone. And actually, crude oil. This is what I'm thinking right now in crude oil. What does this candle look like to all you Star Wars fans? But I know I'm off on 2 different tangents here. Sorry, everyone. So this is what leads me to believe that we're going to get that blow off top here. And it's interesting. Everybody said February 24th is when Vladdy invaded. Grim actually gave a date here. What does this say? 24th of February. Okay, so we have to count. How many days has it been since the 24th of February? And 4th of April here is that catalyst. So let's see what we got here. 24th of February. So right in there, right? I guess it was a weekend that he did it. There's well, I'm not sure what this date is, but there is the April 4th. So yeah, I could see that, and that's probably why the market gapped higher there. So I could see actually that this is the midpoint. And we have to do the actual end of this conflict comes exactly the same distance. So this is 6 weeks, and the end of this happens May 16th. Oh, interesting, right around my birthday. And then that would sort of paint, interesting too. Did something happen right around this time, just about 1 year ago? Was there anything in particular that happened at the end of April, beginning of May, just about 1 year ago? Well, actually, I'm thinking more like, Allen and that silliness. So I just wonder whether this, because in essence, wasn't that the top of the market last year in crypto? Like if we look at that Doge, because I think that Doge was sort of the peak. Where's Doge? There it is. Maybe this damn thing will get off its ass and do something here. So what date was this? May 7th, May 8th, 73, 73.9, 73.9. So May 8th. So interesting. Have you guys ever seen a market literally go down for exactly 1 year, stop, and then start going up again? And if I ask you that question, what do you think the odds are? The answer is yes. Have you ever seen a market literally peak on a parabolic move, go down for almost exactly 1 year, and then turn around and head up? What market was that? History repeats itself. If you don't learn from this stuff, you're doomed to repeat it. So I won't give you the answer. Go and figure it out. It's something that you all dearly love. And if anything, it should be a really good reference. But I got a funny feeling that like 1 year anniversary date is probably when this thing eventually bottoms and we start turning our way back up here. And also, too, that corresponds. I mean, I hate to say it. I don't like it. And I still have a shitload of it. So if they want to rally it, fine. But, oh, gee whiz, there's Dogecoin with a big fat 5. So he's set up just like all the rest of them, right? Definitely down at the bottom end of his range. Lots of room for 50% retracements to make money, but we haven't quite bottomed yet. So hopefully you guys can start seeing all the comparisons. All right. I'm supposed to spend, and that's where I wanted to go with. Oh yeah, just finish off that idea. I think you can see the same things in the stock market as well. This is Cool Kelly Loeffler and that guy, right? Isn't that what Backed is all about? I think Backed is oh god, Shane, you'd remember what this story is. Anyway, I think it's one of I think it was a SPAC that they spun the cryptocurrency play into the SPAC. So anyway, there it is. But hopefully you can see the same thing. There's probably going to be some sort of bottom somewhere through this window. And there's a lot of upside here. But right over the next few months, I wouldn't really be in a big hurry. Is it worth accumulating this? I think so. And like I said, I bought some. And I tried. I think I bought. Yeah, I bought. See, I bought here, sell half on a double. I mean, just killed this thing. And then it comes all the way back to the bottom, put in actually a really cute little railroad tracks there. And I was like, screw it. Let's go buy it all back. So I bought it all back on this double bottom right here. But could this thing just fuck around against these lows here for the next couple months? My hunch is in through June and then July. And then remember I said decennial reports, the year over year inflation numbers get better, the election outcome. Like right now, you tell me, the politicians, if we left it up to all these left-leaning politicians, you see what's going on in Europe right now, folks. You've heard Uncle Joe. If we left it up to these left-leaning politicians, are they crypto-friendly or are they a little crypto-unfriendly? Do we maybe want to have maybe the pendulum swing back to the right a little bit here? I think so. Anyway, what do you think, Shane? Can you hang in there on this thing for a little while longer? Why not? This might, I mean, I think I made reference to you guys. I was talking about Dog Buddy there. Shane, I mean, I don't want to, tease him or anything, but Shane was long a shitload of Doge. And like I said, all through this kind of period and all this stuff in here, and actually, yeah, you can even see it right there, right? And I don't know what the actual price number is, but you can see the gap right there. So you could have any point along here gone, well, at some point, this damn thing's going to fill up here. And it's just really a question of just being patient. And sure enough, boom. And of course, there is the 1718 bull. And then there is our most recent bull. So if you see an asset that looks like this, can you force yourself to come in against the bottom end of range and just start accumulating? And it does. You don't. I mean, it could have been Allen and his manipulation of this. It could have been some other story. You don't know. What I would just simply say is if you can force yourself to come in at the bottom and let half go on a double and all that kind of stuff, you never know what the hell happens in this crazy world. Maybe you change your name to Sedona Euphoria. Who knows? Anyway. So, 88.6 is one of my favorite levels. But if it came down here, somewhere down in this area and started Wing out, I could maybe think about going and buying back. I sold a whole bunch up here. So I don't know whether I really want to buy him back. We'll see how it goes. But the point of the matter here is, gee whiz, it just so happens to be on our, well, these are looking pretty damn compelling list. And this list is growing by the day. Look how fucking big it is. There's a lot of money to be made here in crypto again. And I remember, like, we talked for a very long time. Remember last fall and stuff? There wasn't anything that you could buy in crypto. Everything looks so ridiculously expensive. So, what's super cool is you can now juxtapose something like this, which just gives you that overall framework, weekly charts, with the dashboard. So you can hopefully put things into context. Like the Luna, unfortunately, and I remember I made reference to that Mongolian stock. Oh, look at Luna. What should we be thinking? If you were long Luna, and congratulations if you were, what should you be thinking here? Should you be thinking about buying? Yeah. Might as well ring the register, eh? You saw what Alan did there to all the people. I mean, this is the worst part about it. Is fucking Alan got you. He was all like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna make a ton of money," and then he just says one thing, but what he doesn't understand is he has this ripple effect, and he came on, did his public appearance here. So, like anybody who bought there, any of this time period in here, they're getting destroyed now. If you were long, great, let them have them. But for fuck's sakes, don't get sucked into buying this. You're just going to get your ass handed to you. And I hate to say it, I love Stuart dearly. And of course, we're long a ton of this. So, hey, everything's awesome. But there's no way I could buy that there. There's no way in hell I could buy that there. Just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Sorry. So if anything, it's kind of cool that our little spreadsheet says, you know what, maybe cool your jets on buying Luna right here. That's maybe not the best idea. Lots of stuff for you to consider, though. Holy moly, tons of stuff. And lots of DeFi and stuff. So it's not really like it's just one part of the market. Some of these DeFi names, I think like Derek, he was our show co-host for the crypto show for the past year or so. I think he's going to have to bow out, which kind of sucks, but oh well. But he was super interested in this Theta token. And I got to say, man, that looks pretty attractive. Starting to W out. Same thing as all of these fives. Lots of money to be made when these things get their act together. Still waiting for that bottom. If you could come in and sneak little nibbles off of these tails down in here over the next week or two, great. Nanny nibble. You know how little old lady strategy goes, all that. Planting flowers with Grim. And if you're like, okay, I want the high octane leverage trade, Brian, well, just wait for the moving averages to cross back bullish. You might even get a signal like this. Problem here is if this, you can't buy that because there's the double bottom. So you got to throw your stink bid in, and sure enough, you get filled on this pullback here against that double bottom level. Or if you want to wait for like an inside bar, there's a really nice inside bar reversal. Of course, this is just a sexy inside bar reversal. Or you could say, well, I'm going to play this massive bottom, so I'll buy the breakout through here, but I'm going to risk basically like little old lady right down to whatever these lows are. And that would be a lot of money. So it would be kind of like just, hey, I'm going to throw $100 of this thing on the breakout. Let's see what happens. It's up to you. Anyway, point here is look at what happens as soon as this damn thing starts trending. You do well. So do you want to just sit and be patient and wait for that trending up signal? Yeah, I like that thinking. And, all the DC annual reports, January barometer, election year results, all that. They're all sort of saying somewhere over here. I don't mind that thinking at all. I really don't. So we showed you it in the stock market, whether it be things like that backed, typical stock market proxy. Well, I guess this is back to crypto. Backed, there it is. Same logic. The funny thing is you can play the crypto market through the junior stocks. iMining. This guy's an Ethereum miner. Now, I'm not quite sure what happens when Ethereum goes POS here. But you can see, they basically backed him right against his previous lows. Are there any? I love this little Aqua story. That's a cute little name. Can't buy that there. But maybe just be patient, wait for the double bottoms kind of stuff. This is another one of Derek's names, Franklin Wireless. Man, there's sure a lot of these good-looking stocks in here, right? Is it worth maybe coming in, just starting accumulating down in there? So, again, I can see that, we're probably a bit early. Give it a few more months. But then, once we get into sort of the second half of the year, look out. So that's what I'm seeing in the market right now, guys and girls. If you are a crypto enthusiast, now is actually the time when you really want to play close attention. If you are an investor in venture cap, now's the time when you want to build your shopping list and you want to get out there. If you're like crypto, great, awesome. Hell, we got lots and lots of crypto stocks now. This whole list is all crypto names. And we even have other ones. Hell, you can even buy giant Chinese NFT cryptos if you want to. But I get the impression it's like we've waited, and I like the idea that you're probably gonna have to wait another month or two. What is it? It's April now, so May, June, maybe 2 to 3 months, and then we should start rocking and rolling again. Should be a lot of fun. Okay, so that's basically a broader market. I don't know. What I really want to do is just check in on those questions, just see if there's any follow-up questions. If there aren't, then we can a market overview, but I just want to see if there's any question from the level ones, and if not, then maybe we'll send you on your way. So let's see what we got here. They're coming into the end of the program, so congratulations to all you recent level oneers. Good luck on your final exams and stuff, but at least hopefully now you understand the whole investment process, building a plan, risk management, risk-first approach, all that kind of fun stuff. Oh, look at that. Yeah, we got a bunch of, oh, wow, yeah, lots of questions. All right, well, let's get busy. I'll probably try and wind this up by top of the hour and then head off to Liam. So let's see how we're doing here. Okay, number one. Hi, Brian. How are you? I'm good, thanks. How are you? Good, all right. I heard you many times in your show saying, so what do we have to do now? Look left. I can't perfectly sort out when to apply it in which scenario. In order use as as a rule. Thank you very much. Okay, so I would only say something like look left when we have a big fat W going and or like a big fat M. So market is flashing a whole bunch of trending signals. It's well on its way. It is moving, and it's starting to either, fall off a cliff or climb the wall of worry. Like in this Franklin Wireless, this would be a good example. I wouldn't say look left here just yet because you can see we're still kind of just fighting in this trading range. So for the time being, I would say, just in the short term, there is the bottom end of your range. Then we can do another one of these going the other direction. And looks like we lost the zero line. There is the top end of the range. Yeah, something like that. So we'd be like, okay, well, it's range bound, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Interestingly enough, even in this range, you can see there's an M that came in here, broke, and broke. And as we broke down through this low, even here, you could say, okay, well, where is support? Look left. Well, what does that mean? It means look left, that direction. And you see, as we're coming down here, we look left, and you can see that this is all just a straight line. There's no back and forth. It's just this went straight up. So here we are at this point here. We've just M'd out. And actually, this is even in a smaller range. But perfectly fine example. We M'd out. We're breaking down. And you're like, okay, where the hell is this thing likely to stop going down? Think institutional fingerprint. Where was it that some institutional guy said, you know what, you're going down, but I want you to go up. So stop going down and you start going up. Well, that was right in here. Stop going down, start going up. So there's your institutional fingerprint. So if we've M'd out here and we're heading our way down and I want to know where support is, I'm going to look left this direction. And I'm right here and I'm looking back and I go, whoa, all right. Where the hell is the bottom? Oh, there it is there. And really the most important point out of all of this is right there. Oops, we can do this right. Is that a circle? Okay, I messed that up. Too many drawings. Let me take that off. Where did that circle go? There it is. And the most important point out of this whole image is right there. In fact, actually, this is a good level 2 concept. We'll get into this actually the first week of class. Horizontal support and resistance. Actually, why don't we nothing. We'll do that. And this is the one I want. Go there. There we go. So this is the most important point on this whole chart here is where did the institution stop the down and start the up? Institutional fingerprint you learn in level 1. In level 2, we call this horizontal support and resistance. And that is an important level. And sure enough, the market just grinds its way down and down and down and down. And it finally stopped going down right here. Is there any rhyme or reason why the market stopped right here? You could always look at the order book. There might have been like icebergs and stuff. My hunch is that level was probably pretty important. So you can see how the market came down into that level again there. And probably all through this, notice like this 2-bar pattern went down, then they jackknifed it right back up. So they really did not want this thing down here. Same sort of thing. They brought market down, jackknifed it right back up. My hunch is actually this is the level that, they do deals, right? We're going to finance you at $3.55 a share. That, ironically enough, is probably what's going on here, and that's why the market stopped there. Also, too, you heard Brian, of course, he loves his 78.6s, but that's not look left kind of combo. Just thinking about look left, it makes a lot of sense that this institutional fingerprint is where this slide is going to stop. This is where they stopped the bear last time. So that's what I mean by look left. Now, you might look at this just and go, well, Brian, could you not make the same argument then that if we break out through this high, this is going to be a massive W? And if that happens and the market's racing up here, it broke out here, I'm going to buy. How do I apply that same logic going the other way? Look left. Here we are here. We can say, well, probably that's a bit of a point. The market's going to find some resistance against. So it'll probably come up into here. And then whoever stopped the bull run here, and also, too, this is a good analogy. I love asking Ben and Nick and Derek this question. Where are the guys who bought this candle who thought this was a big bull? Oh, my God, we're all going to get rich. Where are these guys sleeping right now and why? So if you can answer that question, and of course, like we said, we cover this in our level 2 program. But if you can answer that question, then you understand exactly what's going on if the market rallies up to this level and stops here. So let's just see whether we can figure that out. Does anybody know where these guys who bought here this green candle, and especially the wick is the key, the wicks and tails like to be eaten, where are they sleeping right now? Anyone? Oh, Chris, you're so smart. Stretch out. Everybody to answer that damn question, because this is you have to understand this. It is how the capitalist game works. The ditch. No. The wife hasn't killed him yet. I like the doghouse. Yeah, when I was a kid, it used to always be the doghouse. Right, so the story goes, right, on the couch. I love that one. That's my favorite one. Where, the guy wanted to go and, get rich and shit. And he bought into the tout. And somebody said, oh, yeah, go and buy here. You're going to get rich. And he goes, well, I haven't got any money, but maybe if I take there's a whole bunch of money in the cookie jar on top of the fridge, right? That's our family vacation money. Maybe if I take that, I just quickly go and I'll buy it. Then I'll quickly sell it at 10x. Then I'll put the money back in the cookie jar and nobody will be none the wiser. And they buys and oh, fuck me. Everything went wrong. And unfortunately, of course, no family vacation this year. So is dad popular around the house? And of course, the wife has him sleeping on the couch. So if we can get back up into this area, the odds are, and the wick is the tell, right? This thing was rallying and somebody came along and knocked it back down. There are a bunch of trap buyers in this wick. So we always say wicks and tails like to be eaten. In a weird sort of way, this is also a liquidity pool. So if you did want to sell up top and you were like, okay, where are there some motivated sellers that will come out and will provide the liquidity that we're looking for? Well, that's right up in this area. There's a bunch of, and the worst part about it too, is that there's probably also a bunch of people that are short from, like, say, and who knows, they could be short from wherever, but they've been taught over time that you move your stop to most recent resistance. So if demand is so strong that we take out this high, then it's probably not a bear anymore and you want to get out. So if you are short, well, you have your stop up here. If it goes up here, great, fine, I get stopped out, walk away. And then the market makes another lower low. So I'm going to take my stop from up here and I'm going to move it down to here. Now remember, I'm short, so this stop is actually a buy on stop. So in a weird sort of way, if I'm down here and I'm pumping the price up, we know that there's a whole bunch of motivated guys who'd love to get the fuck out here, but these guys are going to be selling. But we also know that there's a bunch of people that are short that they've just been instructed, just keep moving your stop down. And, next one here would be down here, right? This high here. So if they can take out these highs, this is also a liquidity pool. Each one of these, there's a bunch of stop loss orders right up here. So, and this is stop buy because they're short. So that means if I go in and I buy this down here and I just keep bidding it up, keep buying, and I know that there's this buy on stop order pool up here, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep buying. And then as soon as I see these stops, buy on stop orders level getting hit, I'm going to sell everything at the market and just dump. And I don't care if I have to take some slippage. What I wanted to see was this buy on stop level hit, the buy on stop orders start coming in, and that's my window to liquidate everything that I bought on the way up here. And it's capitalism 101. This is what we call, and then we went after the stops. So anyway, I hope that helps a little bit. So you can think of the look left as, okay, we're going to go after these stops. Where are the stops? Well, you look left and you can see they're right up at the very top of this sort of zone here. And if the market can jump above this high here and get into this candle pattern, then the next key resistance level is all the way up here. Look left. And in this case, well, price is here. You look left and you go, it looks like price next stop is up here. That's a pretty big window. So hopefully that helps. I can't. Okay, so let me know maybe tomorrow in the daily brief whether that helped answer that question. Geo, hello, Brian. You talk a bit about the following during the last TRI's crypto account. Is it also part of the LOL strategy to check if the double is on a realistic objective? It doesn't have to be, but it usually is a good idea. I mean, you want to make life as easy as possible. The best trades in the shitcoin lands, in any of them really, are if you look at the price, like Doge here, for example, is 14 cents. And you just say, okay, well, number one, if I buy that, what's a double? Well, it's 28. All right, so where the hell is 28? 28 is right in here. So we all know that we won't even know if this has stopped being a bear until this level is tested. Now, we might find that the level is tested, a big M comes in, and yeah, it is still a bear. But if that's the case, do I get my double off? Do I get my free position established? Yes. Now, there are lots and lots of stories where that's just not the case. It's going to be tough for me to find one on the fly. But there's a lot of stories around. I mean, this one here, 27. If you were saying that, hey, my target objective is the 50% rule, 48. So, hell, just a 38.2, that's 40. If I have to buy at 27, what's my double level? Well, that's like 54, eh? That's up at this area. So, is that a good price to pay? Considering we're probably going to see a brick wall of resistance between that first stop target, 38.2s, and WD Gann's 50% rule, or what Colin likes to call his Collins. In this case, it would be the dump chaser zone, right? We're going to find out whether this is actually still a bull or is a bull or has turned into a bear on how price acts in here. Since that's not double what the price is that I have to pay today, are you setting yourself up for success? Probably not. So that's a good example where, even if a double did come in off of this 27 level, I might be like, well, maybe let's throw in a bid down here at 20. So then that way on the 38.2 test to 40, I now can sell half on that move and get myself that risk-free trade. Doesn't always work, but what this game really is it's a statistical odds game. So, can you stack the odds in your favor? That's what this is all about. And if you can find ideas where the asset price doubles and it's not even a 38.2 correction, that's just stacking the odds in your favor. So, I hope that helps. This question, in order to put money only in the asset coins and market conditions May, June, perhaps with the most likely doubles. You're just, all you're doing is you're just setting yourself up for success. Can you make this as easy on yourself as possible? I think even Graham in the level 1 program even says that he actually likes to make sure that if I am going to buy one of these things, the 38.2, 50% bounces do produce those doubles. And frankly speaking, I think it's a really good idea. It's not a bad idea, that's for sure. It can be extremely frustrating to miss the double by a very close margin and give all the profits back to break even or worse. Get used to it. It's a trader's life. I certainly show you plenty of times in the daily brief, just even the day trading, where we've stopped, a scratch has been hit, and the market comes back and stops you at a scratch. I mean, get used to it. And if you can't handle that kind of life, then it's fine being the little old lady and just nanny nibbling in on what you consider to be good value names, and you're just going to sit there and do nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'll tell you, it makes this game a hell of a lot easier if you concentrate on names that can produce those doubles really easily. Then you get those doubles, you sell halves on doubles, and you got yourself freak trades. It just makes playing the game a hell of a lot easier. Oh, well, you're welcome. Right on. Oh, excellent. Well, I would also say, Geo, if you could just send a vibe to Liam, because it's Liam who pees in my back seat of my car. Let's all we will say, let's all give Liam a cosmic message to use the toilet. I'm just being silly. If he wants to pee remember, it's his car. So if he wants to pee in the backseat of his car, then let him pee. It's just, I would just want him happy. I mean, that's all I care. I just love when he's got a big smile on his face. It makes my life so much more enjoyable. All right. I don't know whether that helped. Hope it did. Oh boy, level 3 are here. Okay, here we go. If I understand you correctly, you are a US dollar bull, which means you expect American stock market after being adjusted for money supply. What? I have no idea what the question is here. Which means you expect American stock market. Oh, maybe this is sort of a question in a question. After being adjusted in money supply to thrive in the near future. Near is a tough word. Keep in mind, this is, we're talking demographic cycles. These are like 15, 20-year cycles. I found it interesting that this past fear cycle was all about rising commodity prices. And yet the irony of it all is if actually you look at something like crude oil prices, which is basically the front end of the commodity curve, what you actually see is George Bush and all his fucking corrupt cronies, they all bid the commodity, this particular commodity up through the front half of their cycle. So this is where the commodity cycle started. This is where I think the commodity cycle ended. Can you see how the peak in crude oil prices in real dollar terms was almost exactly halfway through the cycle? So just because like in this particular cycle in 2000, I say, okay, now I'm officially a commodity bull for the next 15, 20 years. That doesn't, I mean, fuck, they could have run this thing up in the first few years of the cycle and spent the last 15, 20 years of the cycle being a bear. Could do that, sure. This particular case, as you can clearly see, the George Bush of the world, the Carlyles, Dick Cheney was the president of Halliburton. Condoleezza Rice was, can't remember specifically what her role was, but she was a lead director at ExxonMobil. I mean, you can't write this shit any better. The whole fucking administration was all about bullish oil. So what did George Bush Jr. came into office right here and literally left office right there. How ironic that he literally did nothing more than ramp the market up and then bring it right back down to exactly where they started the whole fucking con job. Came to Washington, left Washington. That's kind of shocking, isn't it? To me, it is. So to say that something is specifically going to happen on a specific date through these cycles, I think is a little foolhardy because you can't predict the future. Nobody can. But what you needed to see was coming out of a commodity bear cycle and then heading into a commodity bull cycle, hopefully what you see is the forest through the trees. So that's what I need for you to see is I don't want you to be like using things like the fear greed cycles, which take forever to play out. I don't want you thinking about using that to time your purchases. I want you thinking about big picture money flows. I mean, the irony of it all is actually crude oil prices right now are, oh, gee whiz, they're the same price as when George Bush got a junior got into office, and they're the same price as when he left office. And oh, by the way, this is the Gulf War right in here, the first Gulf War. So ironically enough, when George Bush Sr. left office, well, looks like oil prices actually on balance are basically the same. The only difference is, has something happened to the US dollar through this window here? And that's the tragedy of all of this. And this is how I think they've pulled off the whole fucking con job. Where a lot of people in the public, I would imagine when they listen to me, they don't believe half of my bullshit about these cycles. They look at crude oil prices and they go, oh my God, look at that. I mean, we're up back at near all-time highs. But in reality, we aren't. That's the worst part about this. Doesn't that look like that Darth Maul candle, though? This, to me, totally looks like that Darth Maul. All right, there's the middle of the lightsaber. There's one side and there's the other. So what probably ends up happening is our top actually has to look a lot like this, where it's just some absolutely insane short-term price movement that takes it to levels that people are just absolutely jaw-dropping. They can't make head or tail out of anything. And everybody just sits there and goes, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. Because that's what happened here. People they couldn't make any head or tail out of anything. And the leveraged ETF people are all going to get fucked over. So anyway, interesting conversation about crude oil here. I don't know whether that helped or not, but I hope you understood what I just said there. So, and then also too, remember this. It's not so much that I'm a US dollar bull. I am a US dollar index bull. What the hell does that mean? What it means is, keep in mind, this US dollar index is nothing more than a basket of currencies. So ironically enough, if I am bullish of this US dollar index, since this is a basket of world currencies, if I'm bullish of this, what does that mean I am of all the other currencies? And that's what I really need for you to understand here, whoever's asking this question. And given what's happening in Europe, what's the percentage of this index that's made up of the euro? Hint, 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 it's pretty damn high. It's something like about 30 to 40% of the index is made up of the euro. So if I am bullish of the US dollar index, by definition, what does that mean I am of the euro? So that's what I think you need to understand here. And I don't know, have any of you well, that's not the right word. Sorry, that was stupid. Are any of you smart people, smart investors? Have any of you noticed the price of a fucking house in Canada? I mean, this is just stupidity. It is outright brutal, ignorant, just fucking stupid. Actually, there's the old one from forever ago. Actually, isn't that the one I was looking at? Oh no, this is an anecdote of the housing market actually already starting to fall apart. Usually what happens is the housing market starts to fall apart on the fringes. So there's a really good example that the industry is starting to crumble on the fringes because these prices, they're just, and the worst part about it is that people just keep thinking that the prices are just going to keep going higher and higher and it just will never end. And that's just dumb. It's just dumb, dumb, dumb. All right. It's not so much that Canada sucks, because frankly speaking, I think Canada is actually a pretty good place. I mean, it's not bad. But who the fuck is going to buy that? I mean, seriously? Let's see if anybody on YouTube knows the answer to this. What is the cure for high prices? Anyone? What is the cure for high prices? High prices. No. Well, ironically enough, the interest rates will encourage that. Absolutely. And this is the trap, right? Is that people don't understand this. Is that the interest rate cycle has already turned and it basically goes off of the damn Jupiter Saturn cross. Right? And it's tragic because, JP Morgan, if you don't learn millionaires don't respect astrology, billionaires do. If you don't understand what's happened here, this is fucking historic shit, people. I mean, historic. And people just totally discount this. They don't get it. They don't get our role in the cosmos. But I believe that, I don't know whether I can show you or not, but I believe that the U.S. Interest rate market, and Canada is just, United States' little bitch brother, cousin, whatever. Where the hell did I put that? Should be in here somewhere. Anyway, the long-term U.S. mortgage rates, they've turned. I mean, that trend is turned. There's no doubt about that in my eyes. So it's just really a question of the interest rates themselves are going to exacerbate the situation. I mean, I can't imagine how Canadians are going to be able to afford to buy these houses. And now what's happening, right, is the real estate developers, this one here. So what's happened is the real estate developers, they come in and they'll buy like fucking huge swaths of land, expecting to do more real estate development down the road. But if the cost of their project just doubled, tripled, quadrupled, because the interest, the carrying cost to carry the debt has just doubled, tripled, quadrupled. Well, I mean, it's just not sustainable. The whole damn thing's, and you hear it. This gentleman over on YouTube, which I think it does a pretty damn good job summarizing it. He's already starting to talk about how the Fugazi is starting to fall apart over there in China, and I think a huge part of the Canadian real estate stupidity is purely a function that Canada is basically a whore. And everybody that owns assets here in Canada, they want to make more profits. And so they're just whoring themselves out to the highest bidder. And as long as the stupidity in Chinese real estate market continued, then there was lots of people with a lot of sort of cash that wanted to get the fuck out of China. And so a really great destination is that fucking whore over there in Canada. And so that's basically our real estate market has been bid up because of what's going on over there in China. As soon as that Chinese situation rolls over, which I think it already has, I think the days are numbered for a place like Canada, but we'll see how it goes. I say, you saw that picture of that piece of shit here in Canada. I mean, no offense. And if you don't think that this is a piece of shit, then maybe I want to go and sell you, a nice bridge or piece of swampland in Florida. Anyway, damn, now I can't find it again. But that's a piece of shit. $2.5 million, even if I convert that over to euros, wow, you can buy a fucking castle for that kind of money. I mean, hell, just go down into the States. This is a piece of shit. So what's the cure for high prices? Well, it's going to be high prices. So why would I be bullish of the US dollar index? It's not so much that I'm bullish of USA. It's I'm bearish of this. This is stupidity to the nth degree. So I don't know if that helps answer the question, but that's my thinking here. How can you be a US dollar bull while we are seeing country after country, year after year, losing their trust in US dollar as a result of US simply freezing their dollar reserves, treasuries not quite being as risk-free asset? For example, what we are seeing today in Russia, freezing their assets, or what we've seen in Afghanistan, Iran, etc. First and foremost, I don't mean to be rude, but all of this stuff, it has absolutely nothing to do with these demographic and long-term economic cycles. Nothing. Uh, if you have 300 million citizens and they're all heading into their peak earnings years, and I mean, somebody just get a calculator. 300 million people all earning, let's say, an average, let's say 50 G's. What kind of dollars are we talking about? We're talking, in the trillions, and those numbers are compounded. And this is year after year after year after year. So something like freezing, and I don't mean to be rude, but Russia's economy is actually pretty small. It's not that big. And even if you froze all of Russia's assets on a relative basis, I bet they don't even show up on the fucking US Federal Reserve's radar screen. It's too inconsequential. Is that a word? I think that's a word. They're just too small. And that's the irony of it all, is the only reason why anybody gives a flying fuck about what Russia is up to is the fact that this cocksucker's got nuclear weapons. If he didn't have nuclear weapons, my hunch is this guy would have been taken out a while ago. But the only reason why he's sticking around is because he's got these nukes. And, the irony of it all is that my hunch is if they fired off their whole nuclear arsenal, I bet you 80% of those fucking missiles wouldn't even work. So that's the irony of Russian military. I've seen some just hilarious videos. Do you realize that, like, when they take apart the Russian drones, 90% of the components of the drones, these are the drones that are Russia's flying around and doing their big military incursion into, that 90% of the parts of these drones are not even Russian. The only parts of the drones was the shell of the drone and the parachute. And the guy was joking, I bet you the parachute doesn't even work. So, my apologies, of course, to all our Russian lovers. And we have one gentleman over there on YouTube who's going to give me a hard time here. But I actually don't think that any of this even makes any difference. Now, what does make a difference? The SWIFT system and the entire Western capitalist system was built in the idea that there was this Cold War and we were fighting international communism, and the West was actually on its heels. Especially following the end of the Second World War, the Soviet tanks and all that shit. They were just running roughshod over Eastern Europe. And of course, anything in Eastern Europe that wasn't bolted down, it literally got shipped back to Russia in the 1940s and 50s. And I would make the argument that's what actually sustained the communist revolution and all that nonsense through the 50s and 60s and 70s, was just living off of the spoils of the Second World War. So, ironically enough, the SWIFT system and the Western system, it wouldn't give a fuck whether Russia was part of this at all. It wouldn't give a fuck whatsoever. It wouldn't care. Doesn't even really care if China's part of the system, because it never was part of the system before. What ended up happening at the end of the Cold War, which I think was a colossal mistake by the West, and this is to placate Andre over there on YouTube, was, and the Democrats, they're terrible at this. They wanted to create this whole sort of new world order. So they started going in and stepping on the toes of the old sort of Russian vassal states. I mean, the West has no business being in Syria. Syria is a vassal state of the Soviet Union. If Syria wants to become part of the West, they have to stand up and throw off the shackles of that oppression and come to the West and ask the West to be part of our society. Same thing with Ukraine. Same thing with the Baltic states. Same thing with a lot of the former Soviet Republic states. Obviously, Russia at some point is going to go, hey, we don't like this. We want our old empire back. Problem is, Russia's not an empire. It's a shadow of a totalitarian dictatorship. Now they went through the shitter with Hitler. Don't get me wrong. And actually, it was really interesting. I was reading a really cool article, and now I'm going off on a tangent here. A really cool article that actually it showed how Hitler would have actually done a lot better versus the Russians in the Second World War if he had gone through Eastern Europe and said, hey, I am a liberator. Come and help me defeat the Soviets. I also saw this really interesting article, very controversial. Not going to win any brownie points with this at all. The whole Soviet revolution was actually a Jewish plot. Uh-oh, there you go. That's going to start fucking opening up a can of worms. So you can make the argument that even the Russians themselves were underneath this yoke of this very odd sort of totalitarian dictatorship that used the label of communism and throwing off the yoke of the czar and all that shit to assert power in Russia. But even the Russians themselves, they didn't even really like the Soviets that much, because a lot of them were actually imported figures. Fascinating, but we won't open up that can of worms today. So just to simply answer your question here, something like number one, Afghanistan. Do you really think Afghanistan really makes that big of a difference in the world economy? Not really. I mean, I suppose if you are in the drug trade, yes, Afghanistan's super important. Iran, of course, Iran was a vassal state of the Americans under the Shah. But basically, the Iranians told the Americans to fuck off there in the 1970s. Nothing's really changed there, so it's not really like you're going to get a big change there. So I actually think that it doesn't make any difference. The problems will arise when Britain, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Canada, Australia, Japan, when those countries start going, you know what, we've got to find something different. This US dollar system is not working. And Powell has repeatedly said, US dollar hegemony is in perfect place. There's still a lot of demand for US treasuries. Nothing has changed there. And I would rather listen to him. I think he's got a pretty good take on sort of international demand for US paper versus listen to any sort of totalitarian dictator. So that's my answer to you there. So I don't know. Obviously, as somebody on YouTube says, Brian's slightly biased. I hate totalitarian dictatorships. Frankly speaking, I think that the banksters hate totalitarian dictatorships because the banksters can't do all the shit that they get away with under a totalitarian dictatorship. In fact, half of the reason why the Soviet Revolution happened to begin with was because fucking Romanov wouldn't let the central banks set themselves up in Russia. So try and figure that one out. All right. Moving on. Let's see how we're doing. I got to get out of here pretty soon. So why don't we do one more question, and then I'll leave 5 and 6 for the video tomorrow, maybe. So number 4, I have a basic question. Is there a way to set a 50% sell limit with a 100% stop limit on Binance? Wow, I'm not the guy to ask this kind of question. I mean, half of the reason why I don't like crypto is because these are unregulated exchanges. The person you have to ask this question to is CZ. He's the only one who can answer this. So as far as I know, every single exchange is different. And it's really up to the exchange itself, whether they'll honor it. You see somebody here wrote 3 commas has the ability to do that, which is sort of like an outside. It's like a third party platform that you're going to route all your orders and activity through. But just make no mistake about it. 3 commas has nothing to do with Binance. They're not connected at all. And I have heard nightmare stories that orders that were working at 3 commas, they didn't work. So there's no guarantee that 3 commas is going to solve all your problems, but this is a workaround for working open orders at levels in the crypto space. So that's my answer to you there, JB. Frankly speaking, I don't mind going and doing my fun little trading on Trex. It's a fun little account. I don't really do any leverage trading on crypto. I would much rather, if I was going to do leverage trading, go and trade the Bitcoin futures on CME or the Ethereum futures. I'm actually surprised they don't have other products, but I suppose they'll be coming down the pike. And me personally, to be honest with you, if I was going to trade leverage in crypto, I think I would actually prefer to do the options, because in that way you can limit the amount of risk that you take. So that's my answer to you. Do I do any leverage trading myself on Binance? I'm not the person to ask about this. I'm really not. And thank you very much, whoever did sort of help out there with the suggestion of 3 commas. And we might even, Jay, maybe let's talk a little bit about this with Sjord and the DeFi crew tomorrow in his video on the site. And let's get a community answer for you on this, because there are lots of guys on the site that do trade leverage. Like a guy like Paul, who's just been killing it recently trading. It'd probably be good for you to interact with him. He probably has a couple good suggestions for you. Somebody says here, 5, why do futures and Forex trade 23 hours and not 24 hours? I think, honestly, this is just there is a huge, how do we say this? These exchanges only make money when you do something. So if I go and buy a futures contract that settles in a year or two, and I do absolutely nothing else, I can actually take delivery of the futures contract. There are no other fees, no commissions, no nothing. So if that's the case, and I am a commodities brokerage exchange, like CME or something, and I am driven to make a profit, is it in my best interest to create products that don't incentivize the customer to do transactions? No, because you won't make that much profit. Is it in my best interest to create products and services that encourage and maybe even force the customer that if they do want to participate, they are going to have to do transactions? And of course, you get paid a fee on every one of those transactions. If I'm a for-profit for a company, that's a gold mine if I can force people to do that. So about 10, 15 years ago, they created what they called day trader margin requirements, where they reduced the margin requirements to put on a contract of these futures contracts, but you absolutely must have them closed by the end of business that day. Why would they do that? Now, instantly, you have a whole bunch of motivated customers who can get access to, making a profit on buying crude at one price and selling it at another. And they must do an opening transaction, fees, closing transaction, fees, every single day. It is a beautiful profit margin, engine. Absolutely beautiful. So my answer to you is, I think the number one reason why they do this is to generate fees. Yeah, I know. I better get out of here. Thank you for reminding me. I still got to go get pretty for the boy. So I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you for the reminder. I love that. You guys are actually watching out for me. I could be sitting here still talking an hour from now, and oh fuck, I'm late for Liam. So thank you guys. All right, why don't we leave it at that? We'll pick off at we'll pick up one more question to be answered there for tomorrow. And actually, it's a level 3er, so this will probably actually take some time to answer that question. So wish me luck with Liam. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I don't know whether I gave you any value today. I sure hope I did. Obviously, a ton of political rants. Maybe give Brian a bit of the benefit of the doubt, considering it is the 4th tomorrow. And we're all going to be kind of bitchy and kind of, opinionated and shit. So my apologies. Hopefully I didn't start any fist fights with anybody. But have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. Good luck to all the level 1. Actually, everybody's in exam writing mode now, eh? So level 3ers, we have our final sort of review week coming up this week. Level 2ers, I would imagine, I think this week's your review week. And level 1ers, this is your review week. So everybody's got lots of reviewing to do. Let's all set ourselves up for success to really kick ass on those exams and make sure you learn something from all of this. So, okay, have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. Chris, if you could take us on out of here, I got to get the hell out of here. All the best and bye for now.